Obsidian Entertainment is a company built on the back of giants, people who made some of the classic CRPGs, and even Obsidian has produced some of the highest quality video game RPGs to date. However, in 2015, they released Pillars of Eternity to much fanfare, which would later receive a sequel in 2018, Pillars of Eternity 2: Deadfire. During the crowdfunding campaign for Deadfire, at $2.4 million, it was announced that Josh Sawyer himself would be writing the Pillars of Eternity pen and paper role-playing game. With such classic influence of the old CRPGs, as well as Sawyer's own previous experience with TTRPGs, however unsuccessful, this seemed pretty easy, right? Well, the alpha released in 2019, and as of 2022, that's all there actually is. I would like to say this is some grand unveiling soon, but I heavily doubt it due to Obsidian's acquisition by Microsoft in late 2018. What is this game, though? Well, what it isn't is a direct interpretation of the RPG. One thing about this first line almost is that Sawyer fully intended to go a different angle with the game, focusing more on the role-playing aspect than anything else, because this game isn't a D&D clone or anything like it. No, it actually borrows a lot of DNA from Burning Wheel more than anything, far more than about the history of the characters and their place in the world than anything else. At its core, though, it is a 2d10 game, not a percentile, 2d10 plus modifiers, but character creation requires a fucking worksheet, and by God is it an oddity. Your core attributes are your standard 6 with slightly different names. However, you'll most commonly have about 0 to 2 in all of them due to having only 10 points to distribute among them. However, these aren't 1-to-1 points, but instead a fairly strict series of values on the point score table, with these attributes are also directly tied to your 2 hits as well, so keeping them high is pretty essential. However, skills are the oddity. But to talk about skills, we need to talk about backgrounds. That worksheet isn't lying. You'll be needing to go through our character's history from start to finish to determine their initial set of skills. 12 cultures form your character's backbone, each with once per session abilities on top of it. From here, you'll select 2 primary skills and 3 secondary skills. Then your species grants you a flat modifier to all of your attributes and another ability. However, the backgrounds themselves are what provide a bulk of your skills. Starting with a decade in childhood, you'll be taking various careers in different settings. In total, you'll have 3 careers lasting 5 years each. Sometimes. Each background has a career, setting, and location split. So for example, if I have a town child in the Valiant Republic, I can then go on to be an artisan in a town in the Valiant Republics. So now I'm 15 years old with a small collection of primary and secondary attributes and skills from that initial career. But let's say I go from a town artisan to a court artisan. Town to court has a transition cost of 2 in total, meaning that I add 2 wasted years onto it. So now I'm 22 years old. I still get all my artisan skills, but now I get some extra money and community XP in a different location. My final career being in artisan court would then end with me only having to take an additional 5 years due to my previous career. So at 27, I am now not only an accomplished artist, but I have a strong connection with the Valiant Republic's premier royal families. I actually like this system. It does bring out some interesting nuance in character creation. Now, you may have heard a slip of my tongue a little bit when I said community XP. Well, everything is actually ranked out of XP. Primary skills are worth 15, while secondary skills are worth 8. Each location also affording you a set of free XP for you to spend anywhere as long as they are skills within your pre-established background or your culture. The XP chart actually providing you what your skills are going to be, such as 15 XP in any skill, granting you a raw +5 to any check involving it. And this is the only way to actually level up as well, slowly accumulating and distributing points per season. Now, you may be wondering, what are the skills actually like? There can't be that many of them. Well, a solid 80% of the many skills are shit like bookkeeping, metaphysics, basketry, juggling, and distillation, and other debatably useful fucking skills. Because our artist up there, he actually doesn't have access to any goddamn combat skills in the entire game unless he chooses one during his culture. Now, this is simple enough, right? What if I told you we're not even close to being done yet? Because there's an entire different set of ideas for health and endurance, calculating of your ability to resist damage and fatigue, both of which are actually slightly different and do influence various roles of being at half and quarter of their value for both of them. Because even blocking damage doesn't mean you actually don't take the damage, it instead instead goes to your endurance. Maybe the fact that your weapons all have slightly different abilities and effects, but only if you invest in the particular skill of that weapon to actually use it, because nothing says more fun than anything than half-sword autism. Or maybe it's the trait system, which traits aren't even locked in aspects about a character. Oh no! For some reason, they are mostly just once per session minor bonuses or overly valuable experience traits or combat traits, which grant you a very powerful raw bonus. Now I hear you say, tired and broken, what about classes? Pillars 1 and 2 had a pretty explicit series of classes, Deadfire actually introducing the concept of multi-classing pretty hard. Well, in Sawyer's infinite wisdom, he decided to not use classes at all, in fact, and instead create the concept of powers. These powers form a pool of resource juice, allowing you to tap into certain abilities from their power group. In total, there are 11 of these power sets, with some of them being clearly more favored than others, but generally speaking, these aren't classes you're looking for. What I've been trying to get across here more than anything is the fact that we have to judge Pillars of Eternity on two different scales. Option A is we judge it as a Pillars of Eternity game, which it plays very little like the game, and instead has this weird insistence on being a burning wheel game, with a lot of little moving parts to it. Option B, on the other hand, is judging it as an independent entity, which I say is both a bloated and emaciated mess. There isn't any bestiary and powers feel completely half-finished. On the other hand, a full system of aging, headquarters, followers, a lifestyle system, and fucking basketry skills all make it feel really bloated. This is an alpha of a baby game, one that Sawyer clearly cared about, but has the critical flaw of being a game built solely for Sawyer. Will this game ever be finished? I don't actually think it will. We'll never see the fabled beta release, simply due to Deadfire being almost 4 years old now, and no Pillars of Eternity content coming out anytime soon. Gut the game for what it's worth right now, but like many other Obsidian Entertainment projects, it was unfinished, interesting, but will never be complete. My name is Notepad, and this was Pillars of Eternity, the TTRPG. If you like what I do here, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And many thanks to the bankers of the Valiant Republic for bankrolling my foolhardy expedition. Good night, and good luck.